Few figures in modern history have cast a shadow as long and complex as Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. Revered by millions and worshipped by many, he was a visionary monarch whose life bridged tradition and modernity, divinity and earthly rule. Commanding rare global respect, he remains the only world leader to be received as an honored guest at the White House by 4 U.S. presidents and the recipient of 20 honorary degrees, distinctions that reflect not just his stature, but the extraordinary reach of his influence in a changing world. He was born Tafari Makonnen in 1892, heir to one of the world's oldest civilizations. His father, Ras Makonnen, praised by the Russian poet Nikolai Gumilev as one of Abyssinia's greatest leaders, was a nobleman, general, and diplomat, and a cousin of Emperor Menelik II, the hero of Adwa. Ras Makonnen himself came from the highest Solomonic aristocracy, the son of Princess Tenagnawerk, daughter of King Haile Selassie of Shewa, and Dejazmach Welde Mikhail Welde Melikat of Doba and Mentz. From this lineage, Tafari inherited not only rank and privilege, but a profound sense of historical and dynastic responsibility, destined to shape the course of Ethiopia and the world. On November 2, 1930, Ras Tafari ascended the Ethiopian throne as Haile Selassie I, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, King of Kings of Ethiopia, at a coronation that captured global attention. In an era dominated by colonial rule and racial hierarchy, the image of an African emperor crowned in splendor, with white dignitaries bowing before him, reverberated across Africa and throughout the Black diaspora. For millions whose identities had been shaped by slavery, segregation, and colonial violence, the moment dismantled long-entrenched assumptions of inferiority. It restored pride, dignity, and imagination. The psychological impact was so powerful that it gave rise to a new religion, Rastafarianism. This faith would later be publicly affirmed during Haile Selassie's 1966 visit to Jamaica, when vast crowds filled the streets to behold a ruler revered by many as a living god. The Ethiopian crown's Solomonic claim did not arise in isolation. The Bible recounts the Queen of Sheba's visit to King Solomon, and she is widely identified with the kingdom of Saba, a southern Semitic civilization deeply connected to ancient Ethiopia through shared culture, trade, and lineage. These connections were not symbolic alone, they were reinforced by history. Archaeological and epigraphic evidence from the first millennium BCE shows that rulers of ancient Ethiopia exercised authority on both sides of the Red Sea, with some bearing the title Mukarrab of Da'amat and Saba. This reflects shared religious and political power, and provides strong evidence that ancient Abyssinians were part of a Sabaean confederation. Within this historical continuum, the Solomonic lineage endured not merely as legend, but as dynastic memory, preserved through ritual, scripture, and statecraft. This legacy was acknowledged even in modern times. Israel's first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, affirmed Ethiopia's biblical ties in a personal letter to Haile Selassie, recognizing the ancient bonds between their civilizations and envisioning deeper relations rooted in shared heritage. Ethiopia stood apart in Africa. As the continent fell under European colonial rule, Ethiopia remained sovereign. That independence carried immense symbolic power, and Haile Selassie understood the responsibility it demanded. He pursued cautious modernization, reforming education, codifying law, expanding infrastructure, and professionalizing government, while striving to preserve Ethiopia's ancient institutions and deep religious traditions. These ambitions were violently interrupted in 1935 when fascist Italy invaded Ethiopia. Determined to avenge earlier defeats, Mussolini's regime unleashed poison gas, relentless aerial bombardment, and mechanized warfare against a largely agrarian nation. Ethiopian resistance was fierce and resolute, but the imbalance of power proved overwhelming. In 1936, after the Ethiopian State Council concluded that the country could not be defended, it was agreed that Haile Selassie should depart with his family and take Ethiopia's case to the League of Nations in Geneva, the very institution he had helped the nation join while still regent, as the only fully independent African state in the international body. That same year, he delivered one of the 20th century's most powerful speeches before the League. Calm, dignified, and unwavering, he exposed the hypocrisy of the international order and warned, "It is us today, it will be you tomorrow." His plea went unanswered, and the world soon descended into global war. Haile Selassie's defiance of fascism had already earned him global recognition. Time magazine named him Man of the Year for 1935, featuring him on its January 6, 1936, cover. He was the first African to receive this distinction, emerging as a symbol of resistance to war and fascism. As U.S. President Lyndon Johnson later reflected, the most destructive war in human history might have been prevented had the world listened to the Emperor of Ethiopia. Rarely had humanity been offered so accurate a prophecy, and never had it paid such a grim price for ignoring one of its prophets. In 1941, with Allied support, Haile Selassie returned to Addis Ababa, emerging as a symbol of resistance to fascism and a moral authority on the world stage. He devoted himself to securing peace, international law, and collective security. Modernization resumed with renewed determination. In 1945, he founded Ethiopian Airlines with American technical assistance. Within a few years, it became profitable. Today, it stands as Africa's largest and most respected airline, a lasting testament to his vision. In 1948, deeply moved by the support shown by the African diaspora during Ethiopia's occupation, Haile Selassie granted 500 acres of his private land in Shashamane to Black people from the West. This gesture transformed gratitude into a tangible bridge of repatriation that remains alive today through Rastafari and diaspora communities. In 1962, he discreetly assisted Nelson Mandela, providing him with an Ethiopian passport and facilitating military training during the struggle against apartheid. The following year, Haile Selassie founded the Organization of African Unity in Addis Ababa and served as its first president, championing continental unity and anti-colonial solidarity. At home, he donated his imperial palace to establish Haile Selassie University, affirming his belief that education was the foundation of national strength. His compassion also appeared quietly, as when he rescued 40 Armenian orphans of genocide and gave them new lives in Ethiopia. His reign ended abruptly in 1974, in the final years of his advanced age, when a brutal military dictatorship seized power, bringing nearly 3,000 years of Ethiopian imperial rule to a close. The years that followed were marked by unparalleled bloodshed, known in Ethiopia as the Red Terror, along with the continent's longest civil war, widespread famine, and the eventual loss of Eritrea, leaving Ethiopia landlocked and diminished in international stature. Yet Haile Selassie endures as one of the most consequential figures of the 20th century, a ruler who resisted fascism, championed African unity, commanded global respect, and embodied dignity. In his life, Ethiopia's ancient past and modern future converged, an unbroken civilization speaking to the world through one man.